All right. Tessa, thank you so much for joining for this very impromptu conversation. Today basically we're super excited. I don't know if you want to do a little introduction.
Sure. Yeah. I'm Tessa Rolfe. I started Agency Ops Co. actually just in 2025. Been in the agency space since about 2011. Started from the bottom. Now we're here, right? I started as an associate project manager, worked my way up the PM chain, came on the leadership team as director of PM, then went operations, found my way, all the way up as SVP of operations for a $12 million agency. And then had a baby and was like, I kind of want to be working for myself and see how impactful I can be at many, many different agencies and just how far I can go. So that's why I started Agency Ops Co. And it's been so incredible. The demand has been large, which I'm very grateful for. I'm excited to be bringing my skills to agencies across the nation, really.
That's really awesome. And thank you so much for joining today. I'm really excited to talk to you because as we were, just talking about earlier, basically AI is changing everything so quickly. And so I know you're on the front lines working with agencies and these operations. And today we thought we'd talk about a little bit on what you're seeing, get some, spicy hot takes of what's going to happen maybe in the next 3 months.
Got some hot takes.
Yeah, perfect. So I guess that's maybe my first question is what's actually changing that you're seeing inside of agencies right now because of AI?
Yeah.
But the real shifts.
Yeah, the actual changes that I'm seeing, it's a lot of the connectivity between tools, and I'm talking AI at large. Not just talking about one specific software here. It's connecting many different types of software in a way that kind of makes a person pause in their day-to-day and be like, okay, well, I gotta go do this thing. That's kind of my qualifier for AI can probably do that is if I'm dragging my feet on something, or I got to go update this thing over here. It's a big connectivity tool that just is a snowball that compounds over time and makes everything faster. So specifically in agencies, that's where I'm seeing is interconnecting the different tools and systems in a way that, you have a meeting and you say, I don't know, tool A, because I don't want to give away anybody's secrets here, but go update this other tool, and the note taker will do that and actually go update the tool, and next thing you know, your project management timelines are completely updated. It's little things like that I'm seeing actual tangible change.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's so interesting. Do you think agencies particularly have that sort of problem of things scattered? Is there
so scattered. And then ClickUp came on the scene, and that was their whole positioning, right? Of we're all-in-one tool, and they did a good job at it for a while, right? But like you said, things are changing so quickly that even ClickUp is having trouble keeping up to date with how much is coming out and how substantially the world of, especially agency world, is changing right now. Yeah, for sure.
Are agencies using one Claude or Code, ChatGPT, or is it kind of, Gemini, or is it sort of even?
I love this because I'm in so many Slack communities where it's my hot take is that this release is better than this release, or, whatever it may be. Of course, I don't know, even a few months ago, a year ago to a few months ago, of course, it was OpenAI and ChatGPT and all of that good stuff. And then Gemini released, I forget exactly which release it was. It was maybe 5 months ago or so. They had a release that just blew it out of the water.
Yeah.
And then now I'm personally an avid Claude user. And I do find that a lot of agencies work with Gemini more so, but I'm pretty dedicated to my buddy Claude.
Yeah. It's funny because we're a product team at Rise because we're building the product, so not an agency, but it's been crazy how much things have just changed since December. because I would say 40% of our code was AI generated in December, and now it's 99%. And that's only 3-4 months ago.
Yeah, well, you have to be, and that just
Yeah.
shows how fast it is changing, and
Yeah.
like it's very much a time where if you're not getting on board with these kind of things, it's a one-way train, and you're getting left behind. So you gotta, if you want to remain competitive, you gotta get on this train.
Yeah, that's a really good point, and I think that's something we think about as well. Like teams that adopt AI quicker and learn to work with it, they're going to have that edge and they're going to move faster. And so how are you working? Like, how do you recommend approaching that? How are agencies thinking about that?
Yeah, it's a really good question. And this is probably a hot take that some people are not going to agree with. I've seen the conversation already, but it really is worth stating it clearly. AI has the opportunity to introduce a lot of noise. Like, that's just fact.
Yeah.
You don't want to automate or amplify noise and chaos. The only way to not amplify noise and chaos is to be very, very clear and very grounded with how things work. Ideally, that is documented, especially if you're working with a team. You need to be able to delegate, and somebody needs to share the same brain space as you, and that's done through documentation, right? So you have to answer the question very clearly, and agencies are really, really struggling with this right now, especially agencies that maybe have been around for 10, 20 years. They're really struggling with productizing their services. So if you're an agency owner and you're like, you're more traditional in the sense of like you have RFPs with custom scopes of work, and everything is done a little bit differently. Like, I would honestly not even consider AI until that problem has been fixed, because you're just going to automate chaos. You're going to create more noise, and then you're going to be jaded and you're going to say, AI actually hurt my business instead of help it.
Yeah, that's really interesting, because I think there's like a bigger probably lesson there, is that like if the underlying system or process isn't right, AI is nothing's gonna fix that, really.
Yeah.
I guess my next question then is more around, so we know, there's a lot of hype, and there people are doing incredible things like we mentioned, but where, in your opinion, are agencies sort of overestimating AI?
That's a good question. I think, well, if you're not educated a little bit on AI, then I think you're overestimating how much it can reduce your workforce.
Yeah.
I think I think, at least in agencies, because there's so many complex layered challenges that agencies are facing. I think they're overestimating the reduction of staff, but that's not to say it's not possible. I think the barrier of entry to truly eliminate roles is quite high still. We know that, like you said, even just from December till now, the rate of change is so high. So that's not to say that a year from now, 2 years from now, 6 months from now, we're not going to be there. But at this moment in time, we're just not there. It's going to take time to make sure you're not automating chaos, and then ask the question of like, okay, now how do we reduce roles? By the time you even get there, the technology is going to be so different.
Yeah, that's really, I can imagine that. That's exciting. Is there anywhere you think that agencies are underestimating the impact that AI will have, or is having already?
Yeah. I was a part of an agency. When was this? This was 2 years ago. No, this is definitely not 2 years ago. It was like a year ago. I was a part of an agency that was saying in Slack, hey team, you should be educating yourselves on AI. It's a learned skill. There's some fluency that you need to it, but that's all that they were doing. That's all that they were doing. There was no enablement for staff across the agency, across departments.
Yeah.
And so in that sense, I'm like, they're underestimating AI, and therefore they will be out of business probably within the next 2 years. It's just clear as day. That's just fact, right? So agency owners who don't know how to respond to AI are acting like it's not there because they don't understand the value that it brings, and therefore are just underestimating it and not even looking at it, to be honest, which you don't want to be one of those agency owners.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and how are the agency owners that are enabling their team? What are some ways that they can do that in your experience?
The ways I've seen it the most sticky, especially if it's an agency that's under like 8 million of annual recurring revenue, it comes from the agency owner themselves. I would say 8 times out of 10 that I've seen it, the successful change and adoption and enablement comes from the agency owner themselves. By creating space for their leadership teams to really figure it out, and then to dedicate the time to train their teams up on it. It may feel like an investment right now, but those agency owners that are doing it and doing it well know what's obvious. It's going to substantially change their business. They need to be doing this in order to remain competitive in the next 2 years. Like that's just it.
That makes complete sense. It's like leading by example. We found internally at Rise, now we're getting better at it, but it's hard to break habits. And and you do things a certain way and you're just used to doing them. Even though there's a better way and you're aware of it, you forget when it's busy. And so we were doing weekly meetings on what can we do. Actually, we were looking at Rise data as well to be like, what are we doing during the day that we could try and implement AI more? Like customer support for us was a big one. I was like, there should be responses to like 90% of customer support questions. I really should not be, or a draft ready to send. And I was so used to just jumping into the chat and replying, and it took us some time to actually find a good setup that worked. But we ended up switching to a new customer support. We invested that time. We were on an older customer support chat that didn't really have good AI capabilities. We invested in the documentation support, and now 80 or 90% of our chats are handled by AI. So it saved me a ton of time. But it was like building up that momentum to make that investment. And
it's an investment.
Yeah, exactly.
But a necessary one if you want to stay in business,
Definitely.
And something that you said too that is a little bit of a side tangent, but I think is important to call out. We're talking about AI, and we're talking about tech, and we're talking about something that feels a little bit ambiguous, which is always difficult for people to wrap their minds around. Anytime we're talking about something that's kind of in that orbit, I always like to try to ground it with something that is like really studied and really tested, and that's behavior change. So whenever I'm thinking of AI and process adoption and how do I leverage it, how do I roll it out, I'm thinking of, well, what are the very tangible things of behavior change? And to be honest, even like emotional regulation, I'm pulling strategies and tactics from these studies, and then I'm applying them to AI, because you'll find that they actually mirror a lot. And that's really helpful in approaching an organization or a team when implementing AI.
That's really interesting. Yeah, I'll definitely have to keep that in mind. It's fascinating. I mean, to this point as well, like, what do you think, what's something that people are doing manually that in agencies that in 12 months will be like, what? I was just talking about writing code. That to me, I mean, I can't believe I wrote all my code just like 6 months ago or a year ago.
I know, it's baffling. It like kind of makes me want to throw up a little bit to think about all the stuff we are doing manually. Hey, but we have to earn our stripes too,
Yeah, true.
I'm not just saying this because I'm talking to you, but genuinely, it's time tracking. I think this is the most major unlock, at least that I've had, certainly in 2025, and that I'm now actually going to be bringing to at the team level with my first agency. I'm going to be introducing Rise to them.
Awesome.
It's it's a no-brainer. Like, it is a no-brainer. I think before we hopped on the recording, you said it quite perfectly. Like, refining and getting employee privacy, how you structure and manage that, getting that really, really dialed in. Now there's a very clear platform for the agency getting the data and the metrics that they need, and the team not having to do the manual, tedious kind of culture suck of time tracking. Literally every single agency I've been in my entire career has struggled with time tracking.
Yeah.
Either they're too rigorous with it and the team is like bashing their heads against this, and your culture is really suffering because there's somebody shoving time tracking down their throat. Or on the other side of that coin, the agency doesn't have the data that they need to actually make real business decisions, which like just right there alone, there's profitability to uncover. I can almost guarantee it. When you have a good time tracking tool, and not even tool, solution in place, there's probably at least 2% of profitability that can be uncovered just because of the data that you can crunch. So yeah, I don't know. I think like the moment I started using Rise, I was like, oh my God. Everybody needs this. Why is this not? Where was this 10 years ago?
That makes us really happy to hear.
Yeah, so good.
But yeah, I mean, it is amazing because we've now onboarded like so many teams into Rise, and I worked as a developer consultant in the past, and I remember tracking my time and how terrible it was, like starting timers, and it was guessing at the end of the day. And some of the users we've onboarded or teams, they have spreadsheets that their timers going off every 6 minutes where they're entering something in a spreadsheet. And it's
like my heart hurts for those people.
Okay, this next one is sort of around agency structure. Like how do you think, because this is actually, I think, really fascinating, because I can see how it's changing our in a product team structure. How do you think the AI is going to change the structure of agency teams and roles?
This was another big like aha moment for me over this past year, really. When was it? Let's see, like late 20-teens, like 2018 or so, 2016, the big like globalization element of the workforce was huge in the agency space, huge. And we're seeing something similar now with AI, with how agencies responded to a globalized workforce. Agencies that are doing it best are treating AI how they treated the globalization of the workforce. What I mean by that is you have to look at, in the AI world, it is being solved with softwares and tools. The AI solutions that are most effective for teams are the product teams that, have studied rigorously what they do. They're a little bit more established in the marketplace, and they really focus on doing one thing and doing it really, really well. Like, I'm finding that is the AI landscape, and that is how agencies can adopt it, either to reduce force or increase efficiency or blah, 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 whatever that may be. So thinking of the marriage between, okay, I have functions at the agency, what tool or software is out there on the market that can do that one function and do it really, really well? That's worth exploring in my mind, and considering the transition to that AI enabled software. The pairing between globalization and of your workforce, like tapping into a global remote team, whatever that may be, and the specific software that does the one thing and does it really, really well, like that is the marriage that is changing the structure of agencies, that you can actually see in their org chart, the change. Rise being one of them, to be honest, like the old school role of traffic manager, right? Literally non-existent anymore. I had an agency come to me the other day that was like, I think we need a junior traffic coordinator. And I was like, no, you don't. Like, that's just not going to be a role anymore. And I think
Yeah.
what you were saying of like development, right? The more technical roles, it's
Yeah.
easier to implement AI because it's literally ones and zeros at that point. But I think that's another role that is going to be substantially changed. It's more on the technical side, but my ultimate advice is like, you know, the disruption of a global workforce and the disruption of AI are very, very similar. If you map it similarly, like treat AI as a person. I know that sounds weird, but like, what is the role that you need here? There is an AI tool that can do that role.
Yeah, that's interesting. Do you see that one thing we're seeing kind of in some areas of product, for example, is lots of specific roles in some ways are also converging. So like we used to be a front-end developer, but now an AI is going to write a lot of that front-end code. Not that it's all gone, but we've seen like that role now, you know, we have a team member on our team, Glenn, he was a front-end developer, and now he's just sort of like a developer. Like he has to do more product. And similarly, you see like product managers or designers are able to do more engineering. So, you know, there's still separate roles, but in some ways the human aspect is converging a little bit. Is that something you're seeing in agencies at all?
Definitely, without a doubt. Without a doubt. Back in the day, it was like the T employee. I'm sure we've all heard of that. Like they have many, many skills across, and they're really deep in one area. We're coming to more just across.
Yeah.
You need to have an awareness and a proficiency of all of them.
Yeah.
But I don't need you to be as deep in this one category anymore, which is, of course, the reduction of staff that AI implements. Or enabled, I should say.
We might want to call it an EM dash employee, which I think would be very, very, very appropriate.
No. No.
That makes sense.
Never ever use this.
Yeah. That's really interesting. Is there, I mean, I also wonder, because like another thing that we're seeing, at least on the product side, is sort of taste is becoming more important than ever. So it's not really, you know, it's subjective. It's not quantifiable, but having good taste and having, exactly, is becoming more valuable in a world where everything's generated from the mean and the average.
Totally agree. Because it's gonna give you it's gonna give you the slop, right? But there may be one thing in that slop that sparks an idea that you can take that and run with it and continue to pull that thread, and next thing you know, you have something awesome.
Are agencies, do you still think that agencies, like, well, I'd be curious, you know, in their offerings, should they be niching down or more generalizing? What do you think is a better strategy in this?
Totally niching.
World? Yeah.
Totally niching. Yeah. And this is a little dated too, it feels like, but maybe just because I've been in it for so long. Gone are the days of like a full service integrated marketing agency. Like the brands can see right through that. And I also think that that's paralleling what we're seeing in the workplace too, like fractional or contractor, you know, consultant. Like I think there is a renaissance of those kinds of roles too. And I think everywhere, like businesses and individuals themselves, getting more niched and really focused on the one thing that you do well is important, because AI will never be able to replace experience in scenarios and use cases. Like if I'm able to solve this specific use case that this agency has, of course they're gonna want to work with me over the AI, because I'm a person that's been there and I've done that, and I can look you in the eye and say like, I've done it and this is how I've been successful at it. You're not going to get that level of confidence with AI. You're just never going to.
That's really interesting. I wonder, because we're seeing that too. We work with a lot of smaller agents. We're working with more and more almost individuals, like
exactly.
Either fractional, and it's interesting because it's almost like everyone is becoming a more
100%.
agency, and
it's a little cringy, I'm not gonna lie, and here I am sitting as like one of the fractionals too, but it's so true. There's definitely a movement towards that, and it's impacting businesses too.
I wonder if this is part of almost like I know agencies have always existed, but it feels like if in the original, 50 years ago, you just had big companies that ran everything internally. And it's sort of that devolution where like the next step was agencies, where you had companies working with other companies that worked on specific things. And now it seems where we're going is the next step where like you almost have individuals that join and connect and disconnect for these different roles. It's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. I have a whole soapbox I'm not going to get on about like billing and like pricing models and integrating.
I would love to talk about that.
I would love to talk about too. Unfortunately, we don't have that time, but I have a whole feel about it. Yeah.
Well, I know that we are at time. Do you think you can do like one or two more questions? Okay, cool. So I guess I would love actually to touch on like billing at that, because I know that's something that's coming up a lot. I think it's what I've heard from agencies that I've spoken to is that it's twofold. It's like the time to complete tasks is obviously changing. Some tasks that took hours now take minutes, but then also part of the reason they take minutes, let's say, is because the agent ran in the background, which is actually costing them. It's like it's a cost that goes into that task, but is not being tracked as it is part of that person's time. So like, I guess, do billable hours still make sense? Do retainers make sense? Like, where do you see agency billing going?
Yeah, I definitely don't think billable hours make sense. And at the end of the day, you have to ask yourself, well, why are we tracking utilization? Because that is a one-to-one to billable hours in the agency space, looking at it that way. At the end of the day, you care if the investment that you're making on an employee is profitable. And that's kind of why we're seeing it go towards the contractor freelance model so much more, is because the overhead is so much less if you're working with a contractor, of course, right?
Yeah.
Something that, this could have been an answer to your overestimating or underestimating of AI. Agencies are 100% underestimating the cost that comes with AI. They're seeing their cost of goods dip, but their operating expenses get higher, and that's throwing off the 50-30-20 ratio that agencies with for so many years. So pricing models are definitely changing. Something I've thrown out with agencies, I've seen agencies sell based on FTE, again, full-time equivalent of like a 0.3 to a brand, and it's almost like a glorified staffing firm at that point, in a weird way, if that makes sense. But then performance-based pricing, I think, is going to come for us here in the very near future. Agencies are being disrupted by AI, of course, and with tools like Rise, it's only going to increase. And I think brands are going to have less of a tolerance for retainers and even hourly rates. So it's going to become more performance-based. We're already seeing this with agencies that specifically focus on like paid media for e-com, for example.
And what will be the downstream effects for agencies? Like, are they going to be making more, making less? Because it's more variable, I guess.
I don't think they'll be making more or less. I can't necessarily say that. I think what's true now is still going to be true. It's only going to be harder, which is you have to deliver. If your product can't hold up to it, if your service can't hold up to it, you're not going to last. And that's going to just be even more true with performance-based pricing.
That makes sense. Okay, I have one more question, and then last one, and then maybe like those like 4 like little short questions, like I forget what those are called, but like fill in the blanks for you. Okay, so the last question is, what should agency owners start doing this quarter to not fall behind? If you could pick the most important thing?
The most important thing is don't hire somebody to write SOPs for you. I mean, you could call me, but you shouldn't. What you need to do is create the space for your team to document the work as they're doing it. Like step 1, to the point of you don't want to automate chaos. You need to have some sort of baseline for this is how it should function. Or if things are running well and you're like, this isn't chaotic, we could automate this. This is what we want to amplify, right? So to me, that's a lower barrier of entry. And it would just be to really instill a culture of, if your team does anything, Scribe is recording in the background, or like, I don't know, like there's some sort of documentation as you're doing the work in real time.
Yeah. Cool. That's very helpful.
Yeah.
All right. So really quick for fill the blanks, and then we can call it a day. All right. So number one, AI is going to kill blank inside of agencies.
AI is going to kill. Can I say time tracking?
That would be great. That would be great, as long as we make it clear.
Definitely going to kill time tracking for sure.
And that was for
like
the
that
viewers,
needs to be done yesterday.
Yes. Just for the viewers, that was not a setup. There's no payment exchange.
Like if you're not already killing time tracking, you're behind. Like
amazing. And sign up for Rise. Yeah.
Yeah, sign up for Rise.
Okay, the biggest mistake agencies are making with AI is
just automating crap.
Yeah,
just
I think
automating
honestly,
crap. Or not giving it the time it needs, like not investing in it.
That's a really good point too. I've found almost with every process we've tried to iterate with AI, it takes multiple, like anything in life, like it takes multiple iterations. You're not going to get it in the first go.
And all of the things that product teams know and practice needs to be applied with AI, right? Like what's your MVP? Step one. What's your backlog?
Yeah.
Like all of the basics that we know needs to be applied with AI too.
All right. In 2 years, agencies that don't do this will struggle.
Figure out a different pricing model for sure.
That's it.
Our pricing models are not going to exist in 2 years, 100% guaranteed.
It's really interesting. Okay. The old agency model is breaking because
it's not just people. Like agencies are people businesses. I have a whole other box on this too. But now it's not just people. There's intellectual property behind it. You know, so how do you price intellectual property?
Interesting.
If you start to think of it that way, it's totally going to change the old agency model.
Yeah, that's fascinating. All right, well, we are going to have to set up another one of these calls. There's like so many other areas I'd love to chat with you about.
Nerd out on this stuff.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Tessa, so much for joining.
Thanks,
really appreciate it.
It was nice to finally meet you too.
You as well, yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's not super high quality production or anything, but I'll just take the Fathom recording and then I'll post it to YouTube later this week, and then also cut up some like.
Cool.
Do you mind emailing me as well, just like any links that you would want to? Because I'll add those to like the description, and then when it's on LinkedIn, I'll tag you as well.
Cool.
And if you have a Twitter account, I don't know if okay, that's
my attention span could never do Twitter.
I mean, unfortunately, I've been addicted for too long, and I can't get off of it. Yeah.
Well, it was so nice. I'll email you those, and I'll see you on the interwebs, I guess. Hit me up if you ever need anything else.
No, definitely I will. And thank you so much for joining. This was such a, this is our first one of doing this.
Oh, really?
And yeah, you were the first. So
I hope
we have a few other lined up. No, this was awesome. It was actually I found it so interesting. So
we're just chatting. We're just nerding out on things we care about. Yeah.
Yep. So,
and thank you. I should say that too. Thank you for how much you have unlocked in my own personal work life. So, I mean, really, I'm not saying this to just bullshit you. Rise has really changed the game for me.
Thank you. Yeah, it makes us really happy to hear.
Yay.
I appreciate that.
All right. Well, I'll talk to you later.
All right. Have a good day. See ya.
Bye.